Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakim, who's out there on 4 quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Bracha. So, as you can tell, though, this video here was taken down, for so-called medical misinformation. So, you will find this on the BitChute channel, which links are provided down below. As we get into this shit show of inauguration, they're already weighing in on it. The rest of the world is weighing in on this. Which nation will the U.S. Democrats try to destroy in the next 4 years? Who you going to kill next? Old timers, who you going to kill next? Like the old song by Roger Waters. John Kennedy's Camelot was a magical time for United Snakes leftists. Too bad its promise was not fully realized. His attempted armed overthrow of the Cuban Revolution failed to return Washington's fascist allies to power. It's so interesting how Lyndon Baines Johnson was brought down by mass protests which were not quelled until Donald Trump. The difference is that the anti-LBGA protests were completely anti-imperialist and internationalist in nature against this continuation of Kennedy's war on the Vietnamese people, whereas the Never Trump movement is totally self-absorbed in Americanism and virtually concerned with immediate reasserting American dominance and prestige. Because again, it's how many people you could kill. Because that's all this place ever does is oppress the earth. The hammer of the whole earth is now going to be cut asunder. And like everything else, though, we're just weighing in on it. Hastens the coming of the day of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And there's another video here, a repost. Because you trust in oppression, here's what you're going to get with Sleepy Joe. Yeah, you trust in this place, right?
It's it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier.
Yeah, you love Satan,
to tell your kids. Character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters.
Man, listen to this devil suck his cock, man.
And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here.
Liar!
You don't have to worry.
See, our people love Esau. They love oppression.
Send dreamers back for no reason.
Man, our people are gone. You're going to find out who's the real oppressor here.
You can hear the celebration from blocks away as hundreds of people tapped and twirled on Black Lives Matter Plaza Sunday to continue the celebration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's projected presidential win. Danielle Parker says she finally has something to celebrate.
And I'm just so excited for our country to come together, for my children, for my children's children.
Man, Eve is just eating this shit up, man.
It was important to come down today because there's energy going on right now. Biden just won, you feel me? There's a lot of love going around.
But despite the Bloc Party-esque celebration, there were some who weren't here to celebrate. Standing in front of the White House fence with a sign that says this election is a fraud. But that didn't seem to put a damper on other people's spirits.
That's great for me, great for her, great for all women of this wonderful country.
And the dance party kept going anyway.
We have never had this much division. And so for us to just come
Almost
together,
sounds like
people,
Prince's
it's not
song,
about
1999.
Republicans, it's not about Democrats,
You know, the
it's about
sky is all
American
purple. There are people
And we're
running
just
everywhere,
trying to be
trying to run
united
from the
again.
destruction,
Tonight, there's no
but they want to party like it's 1999.
NBC Colby Satterfield.
World War III is right around the corner, and these people are celebrating. What a retard. I will turn your celebrations into the times of mourning and your singing into weeping. Yeah, man. Now this is what you're celebrating.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year. Got a lot of work to do. And if I'm elected your president, we're going to do it. We're going to act. We're going to need your help in doing it as well. We're going to act to get COVID under control. On day one of my presidency, I'll put in action a plan I've been talking about for months, already laid out. A national mandate, mask wearing, social distancing, testing, tracing, all things, as President Obama just said, that should have and could have been put in place months and months ago. A plan for a full and fair and free, I might add, distribution of therapeutics and vaccines when we get one. First, I'll go to every governor, urge them to mandate mask wearing in their states. And if they refuse, I'll go to the mayors and county executives and get local masking requirements in place nationwide. As president, I'll mandate mask wearing in all federal buildings and all interstate transportation. Because masks save lives, period.
Absolutely.
This is what happened in Arizona. The Republican governor initially tried to bar local governments from implementing mandates on their communities. What happened? In June, Arizona got hit with a surge of cases. Hospitals were flooded. The state health system was overwhelmed. So cities and counties appealed the governor's ruling. They imposed their own local mandates, covering most of the state. The result? Cases fell by 75%. Wearing a mask is not a political statement. It's a scientific imperative.
It's a sign to show you're a slave.
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world that will disappear in 2020.
What if I told you that Bill Gates, Greta Thunberg, Al Gore, George Soros, Prince Charles, and Cardinal Turkson were meeting in the mountains to plot a global new order to be established on the back of the COVID pandemic? An outrageous movie plot? Or is it absolutely true? Here's where the leaders of the world are admitting exactly what I'm saying, that this is a Trojan horse. Now in Davos, they call it the Great Reset. And it's scheduled now to kick off in January 2021.
Now is a historical moment, a time, not only to fight Syrian virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call.
It's the Davos Summit. And the Great Reset, they need President Joe the Catholic Biden to hand us, the United States, over to them if he wins this election. This is why they're trying so hard to take Donald Trump down. Biden is not a serious candidate. We can all agree on that, right? He's not serious. The poor fellow. He's in his dotage now. So what are they doing? They don't want a serious candidate. I'm not talking about on the right. I'm talking about on the left. They don't want someone who's going to be serious. Everyone with a pulse knows Joe Biden can't do this job. What's he doing there then? In my opinion, he's the personified monument to the U.S. presidency that the mob will tear down in January. They need to reset everything, including the politics of the United States, the governance of the United States. Besides that, old Joe the Catholic Biden has always been a New World Order guy.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that.
And that's what you got coming. But you're going to party like it's 1999. Our people, the 2/3, man, totally lost. But there is those of us that are the elect that will not fall for this shit. And that's who the Most High is going to protect. Then you will know who the prophets really were. And there you have it, you know. But wait, there's more. You know, because the U.S. This week has been having a whole bunch of bad luck in the Middle East. The Valley of Yehoshaphat. Very bad things are going to continue to happen as the king of Babylon brings America down. Because that's what it's really about. Getting rid of the whore.
On the eve of incoming US President Joe Biden's inauguration, as if in celebration of his success, quite a few things coincided in the Middle East, most of them to America's detriment. These include the anniversary of the killing of Iranian Brigadier General Qasem Soleimani, the new killing of top nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, and a ramping up of Israeli airstrikes on Iranian targets in Syria. As a result, the American forces in the Middle East appear to be fresh out of luck in the first weeks of 2021. A series of misadventures has befallen US soldiers in Syria and Iraq. On January the 19th, a US AH-64 Apache attack helicopter allegedly crashed in the northeastern Syrian province of Hazaka. It reportedly crashed inside the US base at the Al Jabsa oil field near the city of Al-Shadadi. There is no information on any casualties as yet, but there were likewise initially none when Iranian ballistic missiles hit the US Al-Assad base in Iraq back in January 2020. On January the 9th, disaster had struck in the central and southern regions of Iraq as 3 US convoys were reportedly hit by IEDs. These attacks were an unsurprising adverse effect of the standoff between the US-led coalition and the Iranian-aligned Axis of Resistance in the Middle East. Days later, a series of explosions hit positions of the Popular Mobilization Unit's PMU southwest of Baghdad. The PMU are aligned with Iran, a major force in the fight against terrorism and a part of the Iraqi armed forces. This attack was attributed to Israel and the United States, but Washington vehemently denied playing any part in it. The US encountered all of these misfortunes while Iran was carrying out a brand new military drill by the name of Iqtidar 99, which is taking place on the southeastern Makran coast, just after 2 American B-52 strategic bombers flew close to the region. In an interesting spin, Tehran claimed this close flyby as a sign that Washington is fearful of Iran's defensive might. The bombers, which are capable of dropping nuclear gravity bombs, were deemed void of operational value by Chairman of the Chiefs of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, Major General Mohammad Bagheri. Even on Donald Trump's last day in office on January 19th, the Middle East is still on the brink of a devastating escalation, with every side attempting to forward its agenda and damage that of its adversaries.
So you see, wars, rumors of wars, all happening on this week of inauguration. But hey, wait, now they want to make sure that you're vaccinated, so that way you can receive the mark in your hand or in your forehead that you will not be able to buy or sell, save he that has the mark.
For decades, Black Americans have been mistreated and underrepresented by the medical
how they're trying to sell you this?
As a result, there is a deep lack of trust.
But we must and we will do better.
Fuck you!
One of the wrongs we can right
is to stop the damage being done by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The disproportionate number of Black lives that this virus has taken.
As a Black
they listen to all these terrorists.
A student, a mother,
and a person with a disability. My message to you is, do not let our communities miss out.
Of the full.
And our message to you is, don't take it.
Have met rigorous safety.
You are fucking dead if you fucking take it.
They are effective.
If you don't die from the reactions, Most High's gonna fucking kill your ass.
Vaccines are for every one of us. Our communities deserve this breakthrough. You can help save lives.
Fuck you. And you just gotta have that attitude, because they're gonna really push it out there. Senator Rand Paul, new Secretary of State over regime change in Syria. They're already talking about regime change and the overthrow of the Syrian government. See how everything's back on the table again that was there during the Obama administration. They're ready to overthrow the legitimate government of Syria. U.S. Senator Rand Paul recently challenged the new Secretary of State nominee. Okay, I guess it's he's not the new secretary, but hey, we need to get rid of Syria. Anthony Blinken on the history of pushing regime change in the Middle East and North Africa. Senator Paul began his argument by questioning Blinken's role in the NATO intervention of Libya in 2001 and his support for U.S. military intervention in Iraq. Actually, it sounds like he's criticizing more so, but nonetheless, though, the fact that this is already being out there, and he's only been the president for a couple hours now, what the Kentucky congressman said was a major disaster that paved the way for a stronger Iran. The congressman argued that Blinken to push regime change in Syria, which he had, was a significant blunder, especially with the amount of money spent training the terrorists. Senator Paul said the administration of former President Barack Obama spent $250 million on training 60 terrorists, which he said was a waste of money. So, they train terrorists to go into Syria, but the fact that it's already being talked about. Yes, you can best believe that, but wait, war is already here. Russian Air Force unleashes heavy strikes over ISIS hideouts in central Syria. So they're going after the terrorists that the United States creates. The Russian aerospace forces continued their air campaign against the central region of Syria this week, hitting several sites belonging to the terrorists, ISIS, ISIL, and IS and Daesh. According to field report from the Haas Governorate, the Russian forces unleashed the heavy strikes over southern Al-Raqqa, eastern Hama, and northeastern Homs. In addition to the strikes of the southern Al-Raqqa, the Russian Air Force targeted the Al-San direct of eastern Hama and Bayat al-Sakani region of northeastern Homs. So, it's happening, man. ISIS is getting pounded, but wait, there's more. Jordanian army thwarts infiltration attempt into Syria. So, they're still trying to get into Syria. The Jordanian army announced on Friday that the eastern military region thwarted today, Friday at dawn, as one of its own facades, an attempt by a group of people to infiltrate from Jordan lands into Syrian lands. An official military source in the General Command of the Jordan Armed Forces said the rules of engagement were applied, which led to a number of them being injured, arrested, and transferred to the competent security authorities. A source emphasized that the Jordanian Armed Forces will deal firmly and decisively with any infiltration and smuggling attempt to protect the borders and prevent those who beg to tamper with the Jordanian national security. So it's already happening. They're already going after Syria, as you can tell. Iranian-backed Fatima Brigade denies the Israeli strikes targeted them in Syria. You see, and this is coming from the groups that Israeli state said that they were targeting. No, they were not the targets. The commander of the Fatima Brigade said that the Israeli Air Force did not strike their sites in the eastern city of Deir ez-Zor, pointing out that the latter strikes hit the Syrian Arab army instead. The leader of Fatima Brigade denied what was published by the Western media regarding the killing of a number of Afghan fighters in Syria, telling the Tashin agency of Iran that these claims are all false. He said despite the Western media campaign, Fatima's sites were not targeted and no Afghani fighter was killed during the Zionist raid. So you see, multitudes in the Valley of Yehoshaphat. Now we're going to take a look at this shit show of an inauguration as another brother from GMS Dallas in Class 3 has it already going, so I'm just going to switch over to that.
In the war, we've come so far, but we still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities. Much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation's history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Once-in-a-century virus that silently stalks the country. It's taken as many lives in 1 year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us.
We got next match.
The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
You ready for this? Y'all ready for this next round? GMS Cleveland.
The cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now,
just want to jump on real
rise
quick.
Rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism.
Look at his hair. Look at it.
That we must confront and we will defeat.
What's going on?
To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy. Unity.
It is about to get
unity.
Key.
In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today,
nasty time. That's right.
On this January day, my whole soul is
Lady Gaga up there, man.
Bringing America together.
Real quick, man, I want to say, call hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kahakodash. I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to you, Aki. I'm out there pushing the word in sincerity and truth. Of course, as y'all can see, Brother Ariella. I just want to talk about this inauguration. The freaks about to come out. Freaks come out at night. And we're definitely in a dark time as we're in the middle of winter here in 2021. And as they bring in the newest, latest warlock into this new Roman system. And I just want to talk about the word inauguration, going on that, talk about a little bit of mindset of, you know, what we see as far as prophecy and stuff like that. Not going to take too long here. I just want to jump on real quick. I had a little extra time today, so of course I'll be checking out the comment boards, any comments and any scriptures that you Akim and brothers and sisters have. Please feel free to post it. And you know, we all know what Joe Biden is bringing to the table. He's bringing in a whole bunch of freakism, and they started off strong with Lady Gaga, one of the biggest freaks out there. We saw that they already had pulled up a transgender in some part of the state. and some part of the nation, and brought them to the forefront. We do believe that this will be one of the freakiest cabinets in American history of just, transsexuals, lesbians. They're going to utilize Jake. They're going to put Jake at the forefront of that. It's going to be a lot of black lesbians, so-called Latino lesbians and transgenders that they push at the forefront. And, it's going to be a very, very, very demonic time. You know what I mean? So we'll listen to a little bit of this and then just touch in on a little bit more stuff through Scripture.
All of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity.
Look at it.
We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This
we know what they say when they shall say
moment.
peace and safety,
Crisis and challenge.
destruction shall come.
And unity.
They're going to use unity and peace at the forefront of globalism.
And we must meet this moment
at the forefront
as
of
the
taking away
United
all of your
States of America.
rights.
If we do that,
and everything
I
like
guarantee
that.
you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America. We've acted together. So today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh. All of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again. Hear one another. See one another. Show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around. Here we stand in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as was mentioned earlier, completed amid the Civil War, when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet,
Can y'all brothers hear me? Y'all let me know in the comment board if y'all can hear me.
today, we mark the swearing in of the first woman in American history elected to national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change.
You know, and they always want to use the first black this, the first Latino this, the first, and they just balled it all up together into one and made her the first black, Latino, Native American, East Indian. She's the first everything. They just wanted to go ahead and get it over with just so they can say that they have it. Meanwhile, you have pretty empty Capitol just because they had to block everything off because people are not at agreement. And what I want to talk about is this is a similitude to what happened during the time of Rome and its first inauguration. Okay, now let's go and look at the word inauguration. You know, you go to the etymology etymonline.com and go to the etymology of inauguration. It says ceremonial investiture with office, act of solemnly or formally introducing or setting in motion anything of importance or dignity, right? That's what they say. Consecration, it says installment under good omens. All right, this is what they're trying to do, right? Take omens from the flight of birds, right? That's what an auguring was, and that comes from the Roman custom, right? They would look at the flight of birds, and now the flight of the birds is the people. They're the ones that are being shifted around and told what to do, and they are the ones that are formulating a good omen, how they can shift and move around the flock of the people. It says, inauguratio was in general the ceremony by which the augurs obtained or endeavored to obtain the sanction of the gods to something which had been decreed by man. In particular, however, it was the ceremony by which things or persons were consecrated to the gods. All right. If the signs observed by the inaugurating priest were thought favorable, the decree of men had the sanction of the gods, and the inauguratio was completed. And so they're utilizing ancient Roman pagan worship to basically pull to the forefront what they're doing here. This is more proof that this is that Roman Empire coming back, right? This is more proof that this is that beast coming back, you know. And this time, this might be the last one, you know. This might be the last. This might be the last. You know, hoorah, so to speak, right? Now, if you click that word augur, it says from the Latin augur, a religious official in ancient Rome who foretold events by observing and interpreting signs and omens. And the first thing that they have when this person is inaugurated, they immediately go into prophesying. Right now, Joe Biden is prophesying.
I understand they worry about the jobs.
This Roman Empire. Okay? And I think it's beautiful that that this continues to come in and out, you know. Through. Absolutely finished. Alright? Absolutely finished. But when you look at, let's go to Romans 18:1. 18:2, it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? Unclean and hateful bird, man. You know, I utilize that just because this is the inauguration. This is about the flight of the birds, so to speak, and them trying to get good graces from the gods that they worship. Verse 3 says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye may not be partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues, because we understand plagues that's already befallen this place. Even when we want to talk about the jab and what's happening with the vaccine. That's just a small little piece of what's actually getting ready to come. Verse 5 says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. And double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled to her double. So this place is about to receive the wrath of the Heavenly Father. It's not going to be able to get out of the grips of prophecy, man. No matter how much they want to proclaim peace and safety and love and righteousness to come upon America, we understand that this is Babylon the Great, and we know that the enchantments in this place shall fail. In fact, when you go to the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter, and you go to the 8th verse, it says, therefore hear now, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that says in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a well, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else besides me. Alright, and this is the state of the pride of America and the West in general. That's why in the West right now you have lockdowns. You know, the economy is grinding to a halt. The people are fighting against one another. They have red and green zones in the capital as we speak, because people are not in agreement within this place. The house is divided. God, that's right. Our freakazoid, aka Babylon, man. It's just a whole bunch of dust thrown up. Okay. Verse 11 says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it rises, and mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee subtly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. All right. And so we see this is the chief enchantment that's happening right now. Okay. The chief enchantment that's happening right now is this inauguration that we're watching. So I want to play one more thing. Pull this up. And basically, this is a little history of the Roman Empire. I'm gonna play this. Let me know if y'all can hear it.
To nurse. Under the care of Faustulus and Laurentia, the boys, who were named Romulus and Remus, grew up into young men, tall and strong. They helped their foster father in his work.
Now, it is a myth that Romulus and Remus were actually, particularly Romulus was one of the sons of Esau, one of the grandsons of Esau, one of the boys down the line of Esau. All right, people say Zepho, people say what's the other name? Duke Megadale. These sons, these dukes.
They hunted game in the forest. They practiced with bow and spear, and they wrestled and boxed. Soon, they became well respected in the lands about Faustulus's homestead for their courage and strength, for their honesty, and for the way they stood up for the weak when oppressed by the strong. Indeed, one of their favorite pastimes was to lay in wait for robbers, despoil them of their plunder, and then share out the goods among the local shepherds. It was not long before Romulus and Remus had gathered about them loyal bands of young men who would gladly do anything the brothers asked of them. One day, during the celebration of the Feast of Pan, when the young men ran about naked in honor of the god, a group of robbers decided to take their revenge upon the twins. The robbers lay in ambush for the lads as they celebrated the festival, and while Romulus was able to fight his way free, Remus was taken captive and brought before Amulius on the charge that he had led a band of thieves who had been pillaging the lands of Numitor, who Amulius had allowed to live on an estate near Alba Longa. Remus therefore was sent to Numitor to face punishment. Now, although Faustulus had suspected for some time that Romulus and Remus were the twin sons of Rhea Silvia, who had been condemned to exposure by Amulius, he had said nothing to anyone about this, seeking to protect the children from their wicked uncle. But seeing that Remus had been taken by the king, Faustulus poured out his story to Romulus, telling him the whole truth of his parentage and how he came to be fostered in a shepherd's hut. Remus, meanwhile, was prisoner at the estate of Numitor. In the course of questioning his young captive, Numitor gradually came to the same conclusion as Faustulus, although he at that time held his peace in the matter. Upon hearing the truth of his and his brother's parentage, Romulus feared for the life of Remus, and desired to have revenge upon his uncle for his misdeeds. Romulus therefore assembled a band of his friends and headed to the palace of Amulius, where they were soon joined by Remus, who had been set free by Numitor, and gathered his own band of companions. Together, the brothers and their friends stole into the palace, and there Romulus killed the king. When Numitor heard of the assault on the palace, he at first summoned guards to deal with what he supposed was a foreign invasion. But when Romulus and Remus came to him at the head of their band of stout friends and proclaimed Numitor king,
You see how Esau can make some type of glorious, story of how they was able to rise up in the land when really they just were migrated over there. They slowly built themselves up. They blended in with the people and took advantage of certain situations in order to gain lands, gain notoriety, and get up in there. But they create this mythical story of these, legendary characters that was doing all this good when actually they were scumbags.
Numitor convened a council of all the nobles of the land. There, he told the nobles the story of how Amulius had usurped the throne and killed all Numitor's heirs, and how Amulius had imprisoned Rhea Silvia and condemned Romulus and Remus to exposure. He explained that Romulus and Remus were his own grandsons, and that the vile Amulius had been put to death in answer for his crimes. The nobles and the people gladly proclaimed Numitor their rightful king, and so he took the throne of Alba Longa. Although the twins could expect to inherit Alba Longa on the death of their grandfather, they did not want to wait for a city of their own to rule. They thus went out from Alba Longa, searching for a place closer to where they had been fostered, to found a new settlement. Along the river Tiber, they found a place that seemed good, where the river ran among 7 hills. Romulus thought the Palatine Hill by far the best place, partly because it was closest to where they had been found as babes. But Remus disagreed. The Aventine Hill, Remus said, had a better aspect, being less steep and therefore easier to build upon. And that surely was a more pressing...
Yeah, when you see them zoom out in this thing, it looks straight up like Rome. Big time. And notice how everybody got a mask on except for Joe Biden. Have y'all noticed that too? Everybody's got to have a mask on. Put your damn mask on. But the only person that really doesn't have a mask on is Joe Biden. You know?
reason than the one Romulus clung to. Also, there was the issue of who would rule the city once it was built. Since Romulus and Remus were twins, neither could claim to have more of a claim than the other because of age. The brothers argued at length over what was to be done, yet neither would yield to the other.
How they were arguing during the presidency. Two demons arguing over who should rule, Trump and Biden.
Wishing yet to resolve their quarrel peacefully, they went to Numitor to ask for his advice. Numitor suggested they determine which course to follow by augury, since surely a sign from the gods would be the best guide in such a great undertaking as the foundation of a city. The brothers agreed that this was wise advice, and so returned with their followers to the place along the Tiber. Remus declared the Aventine Hill the place where he would look for augury, while Romulus took the Palatine.
When they said they would look for augury, basically they would look for the flight of birds and how they moved.
While they watched, a flight of 6 vultures was seen above the Aventine Hill, which Remus took to be a sign that his cause was in the right. But soon after that, Romulus reported 12 vultures above the Palatine Hill. Since they had not determined how the augury was to be interpreted beforehand, Remus claimed himself the victor because birds had been seen over his hill first, while Romulus said the prize should go to him since his hill had the greater number of birds. This time the quarrel did come to blows, and in the...
It's funny how you have the same thing going now. In a kind of similar to fashion with the way that the votes went, the number of votes versus the people, and a fraudulent vote count. Basically, the people were the birds, and then you had a conflict, a battle over who should rule.
In the fight that ensued, Romulus killed his brother, thus becoming sole ruler of the new kingdom. After seeing that Remus was properly buried, Romulus set about building his new city. First, he plowed a furrow some distance from where the city walls would be, to mark out the boundaries of the city. Then commenced the building of the walls. In time, Romulus instituted laws and a system of government, adopting the Etruscan custom of appointing 12 lictors, counselors who attended the king and helped mete out justice. Romulus also appointed 100 senators to help make the laws. One thing, however, was lacking in his new state. There were insufficient women among the settlers, and therefore insufficient children to carry on its laws and customs when their parents were gone. Romulus therefore sent emissaries to many neighboring cities, asking whether any of their families or women might be willing to join this new enterprise on the banks of the Tiber. But nowhere did the emissaries find anyone willing to leave their homes and settle in the new city, which was now known as Rome, after the name of its founder.
So when you go and study the story, they basically had a festival, and people came to the festival from all around the surrounding places, just kind of like America kind of gets people to come in to the United States, and they end up taking all their women and dealing with their women and saying, hey, we're going to deal with y'all women good, don't worry about it. Then another war broke out, and it just so happened that Romulus and his military was able to take over different cities and towns, and that's the story of Rome and how it built itself up, basically by bloodshed, rape, robbery, and murder. Same way that you had this place built up, all right? And so now we see the continuation of this inauguration of this augury as the passing of the torch of new warlocks, this being the 46th one, and so it's just going to continue to go.
So be it. He said he will fight as hard for those who did not support.
So we're coming into a time to where, they're going to push more laws, they're going to push more just hardcore laws, like Eliyash Wamba said, man. They're going to push that mask. Biden is going to speed up the process of the vaccination, and along with that, you're going to have more and more stimulus checks kind of put out, because they probably are going to do another round of shutdowns. just say, hey, okay, we need to slow down, the spread of this virus. We need to slow down the spread of this and get this vaccine out there. We're gonna do another round of shutdowns and then also institute public vaccinations. All right. So as they do that, you'll see more and more of them pushing universal income via stimulus, and then, like we said, most likely it's going to be universal labor laws in order to activate your stimulus as it goes by. I'm gonna get a couple of scriptures off the comment board. You have G.M.S. Baker sit down split Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that has been, it is what shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is nothing new under the sun. This ain't nothing but that same Roman inauguration process that happened all the way from the beginning. Same fighting, same arguments, same Senate setup, same politics, same all of it, man. But the Most High is going to finish this place. All right, we're looking and seeing that this might be the last round of new warlock put at the top. You know what I'm saying? This might be the final one. Okay. Canaan Israel tribe of Benjamin put 2nd Ezra 6:1. Woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Yeah, we're gonna see all of these things come down. GMS two-edged sword, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. Here we go. And this is what we're going to see. We're going to see more and more fighting, more and more division amongst this place between all type of groups, whether it be social groups, whether it be economic groups with the wealth gap. All of these things, man. All of these things are going to be bringing more strife, more conflict to the downfall of Babylon the Great. Okay? Because currently you have troop movements happening in the Valley of Jehoshaphat like crazy. Right during this time. Okay? Yep, no more free speech, no more assembly. If you're not a BLM/Antifa, no more privacy. UBI, more psyops. That's right. Canaan Israel, tribe of Benjamin put Isaiah 19:2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. 100%. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And those things are all going to fail. That's why the scriptures talk about in Isaiah 47, stand now with thy enchantments. It's not going to work this time, man. And your augury is going to fail. It's going to fail big time. All right. Proverbs 7:22. He goeth after her straightway, as an ox goeth after slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasteneth to the snare. He knoweth not that it is for his life. All right, and so the Most High is going to bring these things for this place. All right, they don't know that they're actually walking themselves into a snare. All right, and that snare is going to trap America, and it's going to culminate in World War III. All right, ooh, yuck, ooh, kill it. Anyway, Psalms 12:8 says, "The wicked walk on every side when the violent men are exalted." Dyed garments from Basra put Sirach 21:8. He that buildeth his house with other men's money is like one that gathered himself stones for the tomb of his burial. The congregation of the wicked is like a toad wrapped together, and the end of them is a flame of fire to destroy them. Right, and so that's how they've been able to build this place up off the backs of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and from pillaging everybody all the way around.
This is the man that is standing up here today. I wondered even if Mike Pence might have had that in the back of his mind, like, would he have really wanted to have another 4 years of what we have just been witnessing? Would he have really wanted to be on the inside of that? Can't read his mind. But I think there are a lot of Republicans who are, in a sense, relieved today. And the fact that Donald Trump wasn't there today is funny, because it harms the continuity of the handing over.
It's crazy how they talk about how they want Trump out of the way, they want Trump gone. Trump just brings a bunch of chaos and mischief. Now they're complaining that Trump ain't there. Which one is it? You know?
For power in the United States. This has always been done this way. No president has snubbed an incoming president since Andrew Johnson more than 150 years ago when Ulysses S. Grant became the next president. Trump wasn't there today, and yet in a funny sort of way, no one wanted him to be there. He didn't want to be there. His supporters didn't want him to be there because they don't believe in this. And really, Joe Biden has said, and probably speaks for an awful lot of Democrats, they didn't want this man who has done so much harm to this whole process to be there. So he wasn't there. I think it's not good for the continuity of the United States. 100 years from now, we will look back on this particular.
They really think they're going to be here 100 years from now. Just absolute insanity.
Inauguration and see it as historic in so many ways. The fact that there was a pandemic, the fact that the crowd was ringed by National Guardsmen, and the fact that the President of the United States at that time did not cordially transfer power.
The hell is Wesley Snipes doing back here?
It's a remarkable scene, and I think you just can't help but notice like who was missing there today, and it was the outgoing president.
Yes, Joe Biden himself, I think, said about a week ago that it was just fine with him if Donald Trump didn't show up for this because he wasn't welcome. Let's listen in for a moment, Eric. Thank you.
As a nation and people of faith gathered in this historical moment, let us unite in prayer. God, we gather under the beauty of your holiness.
Oh my goodness, we're definitely not listening to that right there. Right, Canaan, Israel, tribe of Benjamin put Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. And, you know, we're walking into a time where the pride of this place is about to absolutely be crushed. It's over, you know. It's done, passed on. It's done, man. It's done. And I'm not going to stay long here, man. I'm actually going to go back to Revelation 18 and finish up. I just wanted to kind of talk about the inauguration and kind of bring in a little history of that just to show you how demonic this actual ceremony is and what it goes back to. And it's also just a highlight of how demonic, you know, of times that we're coming into, man. It's about to get freaky out here. Best to believe that, you know. And God is not looking down on America, aka Babylon, with high hopes and praise. The Most High is looking down on America with the intention of bringing mass judgment. And it's going to glorify him as he takes down his place, actually. Just like it says in the book of Romans, the 9th chapter. He raised up Pharaoh just so he could show his power in him by taking him down. And I think that the fact that this place still wants to push its pride, meanwhile you got a pandemic going on. Meanwhile, people can't even sit next to each other. Meanwhile, they have to encamp, you know, military around the Capitol because of dissent. And look at this. That's Rome right there, you know. That's a picture of Rome. And we're watching this last leg of Rome fall. Babylon the Great fall. So going back to Revelation chapter 18, verse 5, it says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen. I am no widow. I shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judges her." All right. And so this is what we're seeing coming to this place, man. We're seeing the downfall of this place come quickly. Okay. So hold on. Let me make sure the stream is working. Yeah. Yeah, Blade. Yeah, this dude look like Blade, man. It's ridiculous. The brother GMS Fear the Most High said, put that the hypocrite reign not, least the people be ensnared. And that's what's happening. The hypocrite is reigning, and this snare is coming, boy. Ooh, man. GMS Cryptician is key. Shalom. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child. They shall not escape. Here it says, here's the remaining match. Oh, okay. Let's see. Boom. GMS 2 Sword 3. Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And that links up, man. That links up real quick with Job the 20th chapter, man. With Job the 20th chapter. We're gonna see a great downfall. Shoot at her, spare no arrow. 2 Ezra 11:43. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up into the highest, and thy pride unto the Almighty. Really put verse 44. The highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Verse 45. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. All right, so the Most High is getting ready to strike this place down and take it out, and we give all the praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua for that, man. We're watching the last pieces of a wicked empire, man. So with that, man, I'm not gonna stay on any more longer, bro. You guys can go tune into this inauguration or whatever. But we're gonna see what happens with what befalls in the coming months. We know that they're preparing a lot, and we just look forward to the Most High to bring forward His kingdom and Yahweh Shai's return, man. With that, man, I'm gonna say call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakah, send double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. I'm out there pushing the word sincerely and true faith. Shalom, man. Shalom, brothers. Keep pushing this word, and let's get it. All right, man. Shalom.
Shalom, and hope all these videos have been edifying, as we're just going to hasten unto the coming of the day of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.